This morning, we covered the story of George Lucas personally, reportedly, endorsing Bob Iger's slate of Disney board candidates against those of Trian, including Nelson Peltz and former Disney CFO Jay Rasulo, along with those from Blackwell's in addition. But as I mentioned earlier in the previous video, something about this has been really bugging me, especially spending 20 years in the financial planning industry. I've seen situations where things like this can occur that seem odd. And of course, the actual verbiage in the press release itself seemed nothing like George would say. In fact, it seemed incredibly like a Disney propaganda piece from boilerplate corporate language used in the proxy battle that we've seen numerous times in the past several weeks. It also seemed very out of character for George Lucas himself to come out and take such a public stance and endorse a position like this in a contentious battle. George usually stands aside from this kind of thing, even trying to get out of answering questions about what his opinion was of Disney Star Wars just 4 years ago. So what really happened here? How did this statement come to be? Well, after doing a little bit of digging and putting a few puzzle pieces together, I think I finally have the answer. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this one.
Renegade Online.
Well, folks, welcome back. It's another great day here at Valiant Renegades. Good to see everybody out there once again. And if you are like one of the many watching this video, not yet subscribed, please hit that little button and turn it to gray. Hit that like button, hit that notification bell, share this sucker out on the social medias, and of course, please do leave a comment before you head out the door today. Make sure to join us every Sunday afternoon at 6 p.m. Eastern for our live show.
And for the audience out there, this is cold. I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Valiant said just go into the back room, and here I am.
Yep. So here we go. And to set this up, I need everybody out there to indulge me for a second, because one of the things I've been trying to impart to folks is, and again, I'm coming at this from a little bit different angle, working in the financial planning industry for 20 years. I've been around situations where folks have proxies and folks have powers of attorney and things like that. One of the stories that always jumps out at me that I think is a great example was a guy named Tom Benson. Tom Benson was a car salesman his whole life until he created so much wealth for himself he was able to buy the New Orleans Saints. The man died a billionaire, and in the latter part of his life, the last decade or so, a lot of his affairs were run by his second wife, Gail. And Gail took Tom's image, which was kind of a curmudgeon his whole life, and really improved it. You know, she was the one running his affairs. She started all kind of foundations, made all kind of donations and statements in his name, and really put a lot of money out there in the community. And he died a man that was very beloved by the city of New Orleans. So just keep that in the back of your mind for a second, because again, situations like this do happen. And of course, typically the more wealth you have, the more prominent it is for you to have a lot of managers helping you around, right? Especially your trusted spouse. Well, my next question for you is, Mike, do you know who Jamie Dimon is?
Yeah, I hate his guts right now.
Yeah, Jamie Dimon, who endorsed Bob Iger in a proxy fight with Nelson Peltz's Trian partners, right? That came out 6 days ago, correct? So this is the biggest high-profile endorsement of Bob Iger to this point, until today with George Lucas. Now, a guy like Jamie Dimon, who manages Chase Bank, he's one of the most powerful men in the world. Would y'all agree?
I would say he's the most powerful. In fact, when that happened that day, I can't remember whose live stream I was on. I said that from a financial perspective and from an investor proxy fight perspective, I declared that the game was over that day because Jamie Dimon at Chase, and look, full disclosure, all my accounts are at Chase. Well, not all. Almost all my bank accounts are at Chase, my business accounts, and all my clients' business accounts, and have been for over a decade. So I'm very familiar with Chase.
Yep. Do you know who Mellody Hobson is?
No.
Okay, Mellody Hobson is George Lucas's wife.
Oh, you do?
Yes. That's George Lucas's wife. Mellody Hobson is very much a lefty, very much a wokey woke, as some would call her. And Mellody Hobson is somebody that, in her position in life, much like Gail Benson LeBlanc, is 20 to 25 years younger than her husband, who is helping him manage his affairs in his older age. One could argue that in order to get to George Lucas, you'd probably have to reach out to Mellody Hobson. And she has, much like Gail, created a lot of foundations and charitable giving in George's name on his behalf, speaks for him a lot of times at some of these things, right? Jamie Dimon, who is the chairman and chief executive officer of J.P. Morgan Chase, as you said, probably the most powerful man in the world. And I've been wondering, Mike, how did this, where was the connection? Because this statement from Lucas, regardless of our reaction to it, I think everybody seems to agree that the verbiage in there sure didn't sound like it came from George. And to me, George has never been the kind of guy to step out into what could be considered controversial topics. Hell, the guy did not even want to talk about Disney Star Wars when he was directly asked just 4 years ago by a bunch of school kids, what do you think is going to happen with this? And how is this representation? He's like, look, I'm really not involved in it anymore. It's going in a different direction, right? Y'all remember those remarks?
Oh, yeah.
But yet today,
he kind of waved it off. He was standing in the background of the frame, just kind of wanted to make sure everybody knew, no, that's not me. That's them. You could tell he was a little frustrated with the question even, but he played it off and said, no, that's not me.
Jamie Dimon, here he is. This is a slate of the board of directors for J.P. Morgan Chase Bank. So if you wonder, besides Bob Iger, who would be able to get to Lucas or maybe one of his most trusted representatives to get a statement like this made, absent maybe his full knowledge and approval? Well, guess who sits right next to Jamie Dimon on the board of J.P. Morgan Chase Bank? Why, it's Mellody Hobson, George Lucas's wife. I think now we know where some of the pressure and phone calls would have come from.
I think you're 100% right. You're 100% right.
Yeah,
You've cracked the code. You've solved the puzzle. You have fixed it. You have done the Rubik's Cube, and you have snapped this together, and you've done the detective work, and this is exactly how it happened. Nonetheless, thank you for your work, by the way. Nonetheless, this doesn't take away from the fact that F. George Lucas, F. Star Wars, F. Iger, and F. You know what I'm looking at on the screen? I'm looking at the people that have aided and abetted the cultural felony that has occurred, and that George Lucas is either unable or unwilling to stop this felonious cultural activity from occurring. All that tells me is what I've always known, which is that we care more about Star Wars than obviously he does.
Well, or at least his representatives do. And that's the question I still have that is bugging me.
F. Jamie Dimon from Chase, F. Chase, F. Disney, F. Iger. And if Peltz wants to save Disney and take control, you know what? This seat that I'm in right now, Nielsen, Peltz, and Jay Rasula should come on the Valiant Renegade show, and it should be the first show on YouTube where they should do a live cast the week before the vote's taken, and they should go on tour with Valiant Renegade and bring Valiant Renegade to the Tran corporate offices to do that live stream. This is a call to action live on the Valiant Renegade channel of all. How many subs do we have? How many subs do we have?
58,
more than
59.
I am reaching out to 60,000 people, and I was sub number 7. 60,000 people. Let's get a campaign going that I want Jay Rasulu and I want Nielsen Peltz on the Valiant Renegade channel.
We saw Lucas last year. What had me concerned this morning was his health obviously has not been moving in the right direction, it seems like. He's getting older. He has dealt with diabetes that he has had for over 50 years, probably since he was in his late teens. I think he got diagnosed when he was 23. I have to wonder, how cognizant was Lucas this was even done like the way it was?
Not cognizant enough to tell his wife to shut the hell up and stop talking to Jamie Dimon from Chase.
Oh, there's no way he wrote those words. That
no way. Of course he did it. Of course
he
did. Of course he did it. The damn thing looks like a cut and paste from someone from Disney marketing. That's
it.
For sure, Valiant. I mean, to be frank, you called it in your first video earlier today, and when you said that, I was like, you know what? I know how these corporations operate. That's 100% on this happened. But regardless of how it happened and the mechanics of what happened, I'm still pissed that it did happen. So I'm still a little hot. I'm sure I'll calm down and calmer accounting and taxes will prevail once I get past April 15th. But right now, I'm just, hot and bothered that I think that however many votes that George may have had may have just wiped out and negated, if not completely eliminated, all of the proxy votes that Nielsen, Peltz, and Ike Perlmutter had in their group of whatever $3 billion worth of stock.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And everybody is mad. I'm upset about this too. I'm just as upset about it. But where I had to put the brakes on was launching directly into Lucas himself, because I genuinely don't know. He may have been fully on board with this release. He may not have.
I get it.
Yeah.
So what I need to do is I need to back off of convicting George Lucas for first-degree cultural vandal Star Wars felony murder. And instead, he's guilty of maybe unintentional. What's it called? What's that other one? Unintentional manslaughter. And the true criminals are Jamie Dimon from Chase and this hoe, which is who George is married to. And this hoe and Jamie Dimon from Chase are the ones that really need to be brought. Charges need to be brought. I will give, because of health considerations, I will only convict George of second-degree manslaughter for Star Wars, because of his health, but first-degree charges are going to Jamie Dimon, Bob Iger, and the hoe wife, whose name shall not be spoken out of these lips.
The thing that I want to say here is I think we were all kind of coming to terms with the idea that we weren't gonna know why in the world this statement came out from George Lucas in the way that it came out, and now I'm satisfied that we all know exactly why this statement was made the way that it was. It doesn't seem like there's a quid pro quo any more than the lady that he probably beds down next to at night said, "Hey, George, this is what we're saying."
Or largely who is
send it out,
or who is predominantly in control, I would bet you, of a lot of his business and financial affairs. Again, I see this very commonly. And this would not at all surprise me, because, again, I just keep going back to the fact that this isn't Lucas's MO. And I want to be clear, as I said to a couple of responses on Twitter and comments, I said, listen, I'm not talking about whether specifically Lucas would have cast a ballot right down the line, as maybe he's done for 12 years in owning Disney stock, for the Iger slate. It's the issue of this public endorsement. And that's what seems very bizarre to me. That seems very out of the ordinary, and I kept looking for a reason why. There's something missing here that was nagging at me, and this is it. Because
you figured it out. No,
if Jamie Dimon hadn't said anything 6 days ago, this wouldn't have been like sticking like a sharp claw in my back. And then there we go. Out of all of the many different boards and businesses that Mellody Hobson's involved in, she sits on the board of directors with Jamie Dimon at Chase Bank. That's it.
Right. This is easy to play out. I'm Iger, and you're Jamie Dimon. Jamie, is there any way? Look, we're having this thing with Nielsen Peltz going on, and we need as much help and support as we can. And look, I was going to put in a call to George. I noticed that you sit on the same board as Bag. Can you talk to Hobag and see if you can circle back and talk to her? Because I'm going to put in a call to George. My people are going to put in a call to George. We'd really like to get him on board next week. And here we are. Valiant Renegade, you're 100% right.
Yeah, that's it. So, what we're asking is just people take a step back, understand this connection, how powerful a guy Dimon is. Not to say that he probably had to cajole Mellody Hobson too much, but I guarantee you he made the phone call, especially since he just endorsed Iger's slate, which was no surprise, 6 days ago. So the timing of this especially, and I'm sure this was probably done last week right after Dimon did it, but I think Disney held this back deliberately to have this story go out on the same morning, hours before the scheduled release of the Acolyte trailer, to pump up traffic for that. Why? Because if everybody's searching this morning for George Lucas Star Wars Disney, guess what else they're going to see besides this endorsement? Probably going to get an article or a trailer for the Acolyte.
Right. I'm also going to point out, by the time that the Acolyte comes out, George Lucas will be 80 years old and she'll be 55, 25 years his junior there. Between the two of them, she's going to be more cognizant of George Lucas's health for longer than he is. I don't know the best way to put that, but
he's a man that is
getting up there in years. She's still vibrant on some level, and she's probably going to be dealing with his assets for longer than he will.
Thank you, folks, for joining us. We appreciate you being here. Until next time, take care. We'll see you Sunday for the live show. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.